Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Koch Filter headquarters in Louisville, Kentucky. Thank you all for taking a moment out of your day to meet with us. We appreciate your time. Over the next few minutes, the Koch Filter sales manager, Jamie Hicks, he will be giving us a brief overview of the IsoClean units. If you have any questions, there's a chat section to the side. Feel free to send us a message or our customer service team via email. And with that, I will turn things over to Jamie Hicks.
All right, thanks, Ed. And good afternoon to everyone, and good morning to those on the West Coast. As Ed said, we appreciate you taking time to join us today for this meeting on our IsoClean 800 and IsoClean 400 HEPA filtration system. And we feel this is a very important product. You know, as you see things throughout the industry in prints and articles, the CDC and ASHRAE have recommended, obviously higher MERV filtration, good ventilation within a building, and trying to get at least 3 to 6 air changes per hour. And where you would see, we'll go a little bit further in the presentation, some key points to put these, but these are meant for high traffic areas, reception areas where a lot of people are coming in and out, and obviously for areas where you cannot change an existing unit to HEPA filtration, this still allows you to bring a mobile unit in to achieve that. So again, welcome everyone, and as you have questions, I think there is a chat button you can type into Ed, and we'll get those questions answered. So the IsoClean 800 and 400, and it is as I said, a portable, self-contained, high-efficiency HEPA filtration system. They have been designed to easily and economically create a clean air by recirculating air in a specific environment. They can be set up as a negative pressure environment or a combination of recirculation and negative pressure. And they do meet OSHA and CDC TV guidelines. So if that is a concern, this unit will meet those qualifications. We'll focus right now on the IsoClean 800 with some of the standard features and benefits. It is comes with flexible configurations. As stated, it's got clean air recirculating unit. It can be a negative pressure unit, and then the combination. The great thing about this unit, it is a low cost for an isolation room. It does come with 3 speed adjustable airflows, powerful motor. It can go anywhere from 560 to 800 CFM, and the CFM will depend on the size of the room and how much CFM you need to be pushing through the unit. Our feature of the IsoClean 800, it does provide up to 24 room air changes per hour, and that's kind of given on an 18 by 12 by 8 foot room, as you see here on the screen. The units are equipped with a pre-filter and a HEPA filter, 99.97, and the HEPA filter is a true HEPA filter that meets the requirements at 0.3 microns. The unit is simple maintenance, comes with the accessible filter. On the bottom of the unit, you see the grill there. That's where the pre-filter is located, so that's easily interchanged. Once it's due, we still recommend checking that on a quarterly basis and change those out to prevent any of the larger or the particulate to be getting into the HEPA filter, which obviously we want to protect as much as possible. It is a quiet unit, so the decibels are very low on each of their speeds. So it's kind of hear a humming, but it's not a loud noise as it's being used in a office environment, hospital waiting room, etc. They are UL tested, and they do come with a limited 1-year warranty. To kind of give you a diagram on how this works, so this is for a positive pressure. So you have your unit spaced out within the room. You put it where you can best use it. And the air is being pulled through the bottom of the unit, through the pre-filter, goes up through the HEPA filter for cleaner air, and is put back into that specific room. Now, a key to having this really run as a true HEPA filtration unit is you want to make sure that the room is sealed as tight as possible. You don't want a lot of leaks. I know there may be some, but in order for it to truly work as a HEPA filtration unit, you want to make sure that that room is sealed as tight as possible. Again, as we stated, some of the benefits of this unit within that room, you will get 24 room changes per hour, which obviously exceeds the CDC and ASHRAE recommendation of 3 to 6 changes per hour. Next slide. Another feature of this IsoClean 800 unit is it can be used for negative pressure rooms. So you can replace the existing grill, as you would see at the top, put in the 8-inch ducted collar, and have 100% of the unit exhaust outside the room, which creates obviously the negative air pressure. So it can be either ducted out through a window, or if there's a vent within the room, you would hook the duct up to that and exhaust the air out the window or through a wall. Again, you're still using the same methodology of pulling the air through the bottom of the unit. It goes through the HEPA filtration and then out the window or the flex duct or the wall that you have pre-established. So partial recirculation and partial exhaust, the concepts really don't change as much, except for it's being used as a 50% negative pressure, 50% recirculation. It can be set up to create both the negative and the air circulation as you see in this graph. So here we would take the ductwork and it's still going out the wall or a window, and you're still, again, pulling the air through the bottom of the pre-filter into the HEPA filter, and the clean room or the clean air is coming back into the room. The again, some other benefits here. You can upgrade the HEPA filter to ULPA filter, 99.999 on 3 microns. You can have a mini heel pressure gauge that shows when the filter should be changed, shows airflow. You can remove the pre-filter and put a carbon filter in if there's any odor issues. Room pressure monitor, and they do come equipped and can come equipped with UV lighting. Some general specifications on the IsoClean 800 unit. The motor / blower is a direct drive, continuous duty, 3rd horsepower speed motor. It sealed for life bearings, inherent overload protection. The electrical, it's just a standard 115 volt single phase. So anything existing as far as the outlets go, this unit should plug up with no issues. As we discussed before, it is a UL listed product, which we find very important in our industry. There could be products out there that were not UL tested and may not perform, and probably will not perform as well as our IsoClean 800. So please keep in mind all UL listing are important, especially for the hospital manufacturing facilities. The construction of the unit is a welded steel filter plenum and blower housing. It has a corrosion resistant polyurethane enamel finish, and it comes with 4 2-inch casters to locking. The HEPA filter we have discussed within the unit, it is a aluminum framed HEPA. Again, minimum efficiency of 99.99% at 0.3 microns, and that is tested with the aerosol challenge. And it does the airflow sensor, indicates when the filter needs to be changed. So again, there is an air sensor or a light on the unit to tell you when that filter needs to be changed out. The standard pre-filter is the Koch filter mini pleat XL8 antimicrobial pleated filter. As we discussed before, you can change that out for a carbon filter if need be. And then the 6-inch exhaust port, and again, that will be located on the top of the unit. Some general specifications on the dimensions of the unit, so you can plan better for how many units you may need for a size of the room. It shows you the CFM based on the air volume. So at low, it's 560, medium would be 690 CFM. And if you're putting on the high speed, you can push 800 CFM through the unit. The current setup for a UV lighting, so you can see the standard unit in place, and then you take the panel off and you have the UV light in front of the HEPA filter. So as the particulate comes through the unit, it will be hit with the UV and then into the HEPA filter. The HEPA filter is safe in front of the UV light, and it's put in place where it is not effective or have any impact from the UV light. Ed, do we have any questions on the 800 real quick before we move to the 400 that we can discuss?
I'm not seeing any right now, so I'll watch the chat, and if anybody has a question, I'll.
Okay, I think I see one. One asked about the life of the HEPA filter. Typically on this HEPA filter, depending on how the unit is being used, we see anywhere from 3 to 5 years on the HEPA filter. Again, maintaining the pre-filter in a normal environment, but you should be able to get 3 to 5 years on the HEPA filter. And then another one, do you have examples of these individual applications? And we do on a different slide here. We'll get to some of the examples and the places that these have gone into. Okay, we'll move forward on the IsoClean 400 unit that we just came out with. It's based obviously off the IsoClean 800 unit, but in a smaller version for smaller spaces, and is not as bulky as the IsoClean 800 unit. So again, this does come in a standard feature and also available with the UV lights. We have 3 installation configurations allowed for the IsoClean 400 as well. Both the recirculation and the negative pressure capability, as well as both. For this IsoClean 400 unit, you can get greater than 12 turnovers, typical in a 250 square foot space. Again, that exceeds the recommendation of 3 to 6 air changes per hour. Same quiet operation, simple maintenance, smaller HEPA filtration, but it still meets the requirements of 99.99% on 0.3 microns. Some standard features of the IsoClean 400 and UV. Again, the specifications as far as the airflows are the same as the 800 unit. So you have 560 CFM on the low speed, 690 CFM on the medium, and 800 CFM on the high speed, along with the dimensions of the unit, so you know if it fits in the space that you're looking for. As far as some of the applications that these units have been sold in, emergency rooms and waiting rooms are the obvious. We have intensive care units. We do have these in dentist office, educational buildings. Homeless shelters have been a big push to keep the air clean, as there's a lot of traffic coming in and out. Recovery centers, correctional facilities, business offices. Again, anywhere there's high traffic or you cannot retrofit your current space to a HEPA filtration unit or HEPA filters, this unit will be applicable to each one. The IsoClean units are shipped individually in a crate, and they ship directly out of our facility in Sanford, North Carolina. So they are protected and shipped via LTL. Mostly, obviously, we're not buying truckloads, although we wish you would and are happy to take those, but they are shipped and crated individually when shipped out. I know this was a general overview, but we're going to look through the questions. Are there any other questions that we may be able to answer here?
No, I'm just seeing our life of the HEPA and
Okay.
what application customers are mostly using this for. So.
Yeah. So one question is, what are the benefits of the UV lighting? And Steve Snyder's on here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but it kills some of the smaller particulate before it gets the HEPA filter may not be able to capture before it going into the HEPA filter. Steve?
Yeah, that's right. So the bulb we're using, it emits UV light in the 250 nanometer wavelength, which is considered germicidal bulb. It's not in the range that would create ozone, so there should be no concern about that. This is strictly a germicidal bulb. So when the HEPA filter captures, contains the any kind of pathogens, you have the UV light there to also deactivate and kill whatever is captured.
Great, thanks. Do we currently have these units in the healthcare industry? Ed answered this on the chat, but yes, I would say the majority of the units right now are going into universities and any type of healthcare, whether it's a general ER, an urgent care center, doctor's office, and again, put dental offices in there as well, but they are used there. As far as marketing material, yes, we do have brochures and cut sheets on both units. You can email the info@kochfilter.com and request those, and Ed will get those out to you immediately. Current lead time on the units, the 800, I believe it's under 5 we can get out in a week or two, and then anything over we'll be pushing 3 to 4 weeks. However, we can do partial shipments if necessary on the units, and probably looking around 4 weeks on the 400, as the demand has obviously been pretty good since we introduced that. So we continue to work to get more products in inventory, and it's an ongoing action item for us to get more of these in inventory for quick ship programs. Is there a toolless option for changing out the filter? I believe, again, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe on the front panel you see on the screens, they just turn, and then there's clamps. I think there's minimal tool use. Another one we had here, maybe just a wrench to unloosen some of the nuts that are holding the HEPA filter in place.
Yeah, there's a clamp, so you do need to use a socket to remove the bolts that hold the clamps that hold the filter down. As far as the front panel, that comes off with a Phillips head screwdriver or a screw gun after the little protective covers are snapped off. The whole thing takes about 10 minutes.
Next question is, are there sound level ratings for these? I believe that was on one of the sides. We'll put that back up, and if it's not on there, we can get that to you. Yes.
Where does one find OSHA and city spec sheets in terms of using these items?
I believe we have a link for that, and we have put that out in some of our HTMLs, but we can resend that out if you just send your information to the info@kochfilter.com, and we'll get those out to you. Next question, is this being used in a COVID situation? Should they change the filters more often than normal? On the UV option. Obviously, these did increase as COVID hit. The COVID virus, from what we see, is somewhat smaller than what the actual HEPA filter can capture, unless it adheres to a larger particulate. Then obviously the HEPA filter will catch it. The UV light does help. It's not 100% COVID proof, I guess, if you would say, but again, the purpose of this unit is to get the highest filtration possible to prevent any widespread bacteria or lack of HEPA filtration within a unit or a facility. So it's not 100 proof, but it does help prevent any spread that could be worse if a HEPA filtration unit was not being used. Steve, I'm going to let you help me with this. And what are the biggest challenges with competitors' units, say Canfill, City M, that you run into, if any?
Sorry, I was on mute. As far as challenges go, I think really just education is the biggest challenge, because there's a lot of, I guess, confusion surrounding the CDC guidelines and air changes. And there's, when COVID first appeared, a lot of different competitors started appearing on the market. Now, the IsoClean's been around since the early 90s. So it is an established product that has been used in infection control applications all along, back to that time. So when it comes to competitors, it seems the general message is that more airflow is better, and that's not always the case. Pay close attention to what type of HEPA filter is in a competitive unit. This unit has a 99.99% efficient HEPA, which means that it is 100% scanned to be free of leaks. And all of these units that have a 99.97 HEPA, that is tested with a global efficiency test. And you can actually have a leak in that filter and still pass that test. So there is a distinction there. So that's one of the challenges that we come across.
Next question is speak about comparisons against the carrier unit as well. Steve, I'll let you touch on this a little bit, but I know we did purchase one, and the initial view on our point is not as sturdy and built as well as our unit. And I'm not just saying that as a us against them. We are in the process of trying to put some of the comparisons together of ours against the carrier. But Steve, you have anything else to offer on that?
Yeah, we're still evaluating the unit, but just generally, the carrier unit, the OptiClean, it moves just shy of twice the amount of air. So it is quite a bit louder than the IsoClean 800. And that being said, it has a 99.97 filter. So it fits the description I was just talking about, where they're just using, more of a global efficiency rated HEPA filter versus a 100% leak-free HEPA filter. As far as the construction goes, if you're familiar with a residential air handler, that is the style construction that the OptiClean has. So it's very thin gauge metal. It's lined with a foil-backed fiberglass insulation, where the IsoClean is lined with a sound deadening foam insulation and is made of heavier gauge steel.
And if you want, and we also found, again, just taking it right out of the box, the corners were not welded properly. There were leaks in the unit. So again, that's when I talk about making sure that the room is completely sealed. That goes for the unit as well. So you're not having any air leak before it gets through the filters.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Jamie, whether Carrier is making any claims regarding CDC guidelines.
Okay.
So
good point.
I don't know if that becomes an issue there, but yeah, the corners were definitely open.
Good point. Thank you. The other, the UL rating, are these UL 586 or UL 2998?
No, these units are listed to UL 507.
The availability of the UV option versus the standard units, any difference you need to add? Yes, I had a couple weeks for the UV lights. the most of the volume has been the standard units without UV. So that's the one we're pushing to get more in inventory. But I would add a couple weeks to the UV.
Jamie, one more comment on that last question about UL. So UL 2998 is pertaining to ozone emissions. And I mentioned before that the UV light in our unit is not in a wavelength that will produce ozone. It's a germicidal type lamp. So that's why the unit has not been evaluated to that standard. And then the other standard, UL 586, looks like it pertains to HEPA filtration units. We haven't evaluated the unit to that standard. The UL 507 is a fan standard. The filter itself carries a UL 900 listing or rating. So I just wanted to add that to that last answer.
No, thank you.
All right, Jamie, thank you. Steve,
Yep.
Thank you. That was good.
Yep.
As always, if you have any more questions, just shoot us an email, info@cookfilter or orders@cookfilter, and we'll get back with you. Go ahead.
One more thing real quick. We are in developments, and it may be another 30, 60 days, but we are in developments of another type of model of the IsoClean, so more to come on that one as well.
Yep. I think that about do it. I will also send out an email to everyone that received this invite, and we'll have a recording as well uploaded to YouTube, so you can, if you want to go back and watch and pick out a part, that's not a problem. So with that, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you when we see you. Have a good one.
All right, thank you.